After studying this module, you shall be able to first learn about the various steps in the planning process of starting a new business, understand the HALT model, know about the interrelationship between entrepreneur, environment and the planning process of a new venture. Learn about the 4 stages in business growth. Identify each of these stages distinctly. Understand the different challenges faced by the firms through different stages of growth. Know about the tasks which should be undertaken to overcome these challenges. Let's come to the introduction. In this chapter, we will be talking about new venture planning process and 4-stage growth model. First, new venture planning process. In today's highly competitive business environment, any new venture should be carefully planned before execution. Many authors have discussed the importance of new venture planning process because it's not always sufficient to have a great idea or singling out a great opportunity. The next steps typically involve some planning. No business can go from non-existence to existence in just one step. Some of the planning is required here. The level of planning may differ from venture to venture. In a developing country like India, there exists a tendency among people not to follow the planning process properly. One reason for this might be that they do not have any knowledge about the process. In any case, a new venture planning is helpful to any new business. Of the many things it helps to determine the goals of the business and how these are to be achieved. A good planning method will help one to test ideas and see the flaws in its business to avoid the waste of resources as well as opportunity. Moreover, it leads to better confidence in the entrepreneur because opportunities are seen clearly and helps one to take right steps forward. In other words, after adequate planning, one knows what he is doing. Due to the advantages of the planning in establishing a new venture, many authors have given business planning process in a sequential order so that the entrepreneurs get an idea as to how to proceed with the new venture planning process. Let us discuss one of these. The planning process of the HALT model. In 1991, 3 academics at the University of Växjö, Sweden, M. Hult, A. Gerling and G. Lindblom created a model based on past academic research and the theories which summarizes the process and the most important factors involved in the business creation. The model relates the entrepreneur, the environment and their interaction between themselves and the 5 planning process steps. The figure below shows the model in brief. The entrepreneur. According to the HALT model, the entrepreneur is driven by his personality profile, need for achievement, autonomy, risk, motive of establishment and other triggering factors. Each of these drives of the entrepreneur has its own sub-variables that have effects on the planning process. Below are the variables and the description of what makes an entrepreneur. First, the personality profile. The first factor here is the age at start. This includes his or her education, industrial experience, personal maturity and networks. Second is the technical competence. This refers to the formal and technical education and training. Economic or financial education, which includes the formal and informal economic or financial education and training. Knowledge about starting a new business. It involves any previous knowledge in starting a new business. Leadership ability. Previous experience in leadership from profit or non-profit organization is included here. The second is the need for achievement. Under this we have vitality. This includes devotion for action to do things. Contact ability. Here we are referring to the ability to create, develop and maintain contact with the organization and business. Next, behavior, which is the ability of the entrepreneur to create confidence. Intellectual capacity. This refers to the imagination and creative thinking. Special gifts. Any special or industrial competence of the entrepreneur is included here. Next we come to autonomy. Under this we have available time, that is the time the entrepreneur can devote to the establishment of the new venture. Family relations, which is attitudes of his or her family, their support or lack of support for the new venture. Partners. These refer to the potential partners who assist the entrepreneur during the establishment. Conditions of employment. These refer to the regulations which control the relations between the employer, which is the entrepreneur in this case, and the employees. Financial autonomy, which is the financial resources which can be used for establishment. The next factor is risk. Under this we have first the financial risk. The financial risk that the entrepreneur and his or her family have taken in connection with the new venture establishment. Career risk, which is interrupted career due to the new venture and difficulties in taking up the former career. Family risk, which is the effect of the new venture on entrepreneur's family. Psychological risk. These are the factors that the new venture can have on the psychological health of the entrepreneur. Next we have the motive for establishment, which is the actual reasons of the entrepreneur for setting up the new business. Next factor is of the triggering factors. These consist of the decisive factors that made the entrepreneur start, and these vary from individuals to individuals. The entrepreneur may be having the idea of establishing the business some time ago, but the startup may have been delayed due to some reasons. Moreover, factors such as change of organization at work, unemployment, a strong emotional experience, etc. may trigger the establishment of a venture. The second factor in the HALT model is the environment. HALT et al. In 1991 also argued that the environment of the entrepreneur is made up of role models, financial resources, other resources, market, and society's attitude. Now we will discuss the sub-variables and description of the environment one may encounter in the planning process. First, the role models. Under this we have the close relatives. Through these, the entrepreneur may be born into enterprising. Other relatives may give knowledge of the conditions of the venture development. Good friends, they can be inspiring to start a new venture. Other business people can act as advisors and mentors. Colleagues can stimulate the idea of a business for the entrepreneur. Small business owners can give knowledge of enterprising to the entrepreneur. Next factor under the environment is the financial resources. First under this is own financing, which is own capital and assets invested in the business. Second is the individual financiers, which include friends, relatives who participate in the financing of the new venture. Financial institutions, which include banks, government, private investors who are involved in leasing, factoring and insurance. There are some other resources also like service, which refer to consulting services and accounting or technology services. Raw materials, which are actually raw materials and other components needed for the production. Then we have the labor, who are the workers employed by the entrepreneur. Then we have the premises, machinery and equipment, which might be rented or acquired production facilities. Next factor is market, where we include the local as well as the foreign market. These refer to markets in the local area and for export of the product of the new venture. Next factor is society's attitude. Under this we have present policy, which is experiences of the present policy regarding support for the new venture. Politics on national and local level, which include the entrepreneur's perception and experience with politicians from different parties at local or national level. In the end, we have the process. The HALT model divides the iterative process in 5 phases, which we will be discussing now. The idea phase. The entrepreneur thinks of starting a new business for the first time in this phase. It lays the foundation stone for the inclination of the entrepreneur to start a new business. The idea is not well developed, and thus the entrepreneur does not start to test or examine the idea very closely at this stage. It is a stage where the ideas are gathered and analyzed. Next is the test and persuasion phase. This is where the potential entrepreneur tests its thoughts about being a business owner with the people in its surroundings, the family, relatives, friends and other individuals and organizations further away from one's close surroundings are approached at first to test the idea. Empirical findings show that positive feedback from entrepreneurs' surroundings promote realization of the business idea. The process may stop temporarily if it is negative. Furthermore, the second phase can be seen as a learning phase where the individual takes up some elementary knowledge in bookkeeping and law. The third stage is the preparation phase. At this stage, the entrepreneur has to do more work than the first 2 stages in order to bring his ideas to light. Problem solving is one of the very important aspects at this stage. It concerns simple calculations, making budgets, market analysis, analyzing the production process, administration, etc. The entrepreneur might contact authorities and ask consultants for advice. Next, we have the startup phase. The startup phase starts from a definite point, a triggering point such as acceptance of an offer, renting an office, advertising in the newspaper, etc., which causes the entrepreneur to finally implement his or her business idea. The startup phase does not imply that a new venture is created. It entails critical events for the entrepreneur. There may be internal or external, positive or negative responses in the entrepreneur's endeavors. The ongoing business phase. At this phase, taking initiatives and putting ideas to action are necessary but not sufficient conditions for startup of a new venture. The entrepreneur has to have access to resources such as labor, raw material, capital, premises, equipment and other necessities for the planned enterprise. Activities such as getting a loan, looking for new markets, spending long hours in administration, customer and supplier contacts are very common. To sum up, the HALT model is a harmonic synthesis of past research until 1991 and shows a sequential approach relating the entrepreneur, the environment and the process together. Furthermore, the arrows are double-sided and it is showing the interrelationship between three factors. Next topic is the 4-stage growth model. No business performs in the same manner during its lifetime. Every business has its ups and downs and passes through various stages. Many researchers have given different methods and different theories about various stages of organizational business growth. Let's talk about one of these theories here. The 4 stages of business growth. As per this model, every business passes through the following 4 stages, which we will also discuss in detail. The characteristics, challenges faced by business, etc. change from stage to stage. How well or how poorly does the business manage these changes and challenges determine the success and failure of that business. First is the new venture, second early growth, third rapid growth and fourth is the sustainable growth. Let's discuss these in detail now. First, new venture. Primary objective here is finding a viable business model. Many companies fail because they focus on product more than the market or vice versa. The entrepreneur has to find whether his business idea is a real business opportunity or not. He or she has to find answers to the following questions. First, who are your customers? Second, what do they want? Third, why will they buy your product? And fourth, how will you be able to deliver them on a continuous basis? Important things to be done here are: first, market analysis or market demand analysis. Complete and thorough analysis of the potential market is very important for any business because however great the product may be, it's of no use till there is a proper demand or market for it. The entrepreneur has to make sure that the market has the potential to support the business over time. Second, develop and test the product in the market. This may mean changing the product multiple times and thus it is an iterative process. But in the end, no matter how much changing and tweaking it takes, the customer problem and the product solution should fit perfectly. Identification of the customer base. This is finding those people who will pay you to solve their problems, that is your potential customers. You must be able to make repeated sales to the set of pilot customers in the market. This will give the entrepreneur an idea about who can be his final customers and also what kind of marketing and selling strategies are needed. In the end, we need to validate the business model, verifying that the product and the potential customers will yield a profitable business model in the long run under the present market conditions. The second stage is early growth. This stage builds on the company's success in stage 1, where the company has established a perfect fit between its product and the needs of the market. It's also identified a set of initial pilot customers that can serve as a valuable references and developed a sales process. However, a company is still in somewhat vulnerable position. Broader market acceptance is still unproven. Resources are limited and scale is lacking with infrastructure not well developed. In short, it has certain weaknesses that should be expected in a new or a young company. The primary objective of early growth stage is to drive sales by creating customer demand. This will require the company to begin working on its ability to deliver the product or service as well as its sales and marketing efforts. The challenges from growing and managing a business are fundamentally different from those of starting a new venture. As the company's sales increase, so will the number of employees, number of customers, number of stakeholders, etc. A young company can quickly become overwhelmed by its own growth or even stumble or even fall. Things to keep in mind in this stage are: develop an initial infrastructure and basic operations, add key resources and hire enough people to support a growing customer base. Next, the company should gain credibility and visibility by winning a set of satisfied early reference customers to help attract large customer base. The company should begin to build strategic alliances with other large companies also in this stage. The third stage is rapid growth. As a result of early growth stage, the organization is now much larger and becoming more and more complex. Company's product or service demand is increasing at a great speed. There are more customers, more people, more layers, more products, and thus more complexity. The focus in the rapid growth stage is on scaling operations and building the organizational infrastructure necessary to support growth and complexity. The organization needs to bring its organizational systems, people, and management capabilities in line with new demands and challenges of a much larger business that it has become. The things to keep in mind in this stage are: to hire, train and manage new people, acquire and manage the human, financial, physical and technical resources needed to grow further, build a cohesive and strong management team, work towards filling the gaps in company's functional experience and expertise, fully develop the basic operational systems which are needed. The company should deploy a variety of management systems needed to provide direction, coordinate activity, eliminate confusion and make better decisions and assure that the goals are being met. Last, create the right set of rules and regulations as per the needs of a growing company. More formal approach to manage the organization is necessary. In the end, we have the sustainable growth stage. The goal is to become an established and long-lasting market leader. It is true that achieving growth is hard, but maintaining it is harder. The latest challenge as the company comes to this level is to sustain an upward trajectory. However well the company may be doing, continued growth and success is not guaranteed at any point. Over time, the original products of any company will mature and no longer be able to provide the company with the growth rate it desires. What the company should focus on in this stage is, first, develop a strategic plan for locating and developing growth opportunities while existing business is still growing. Expand to new markets, transform existing markets, develop new products, and create new businesses and so on. Support and stimulate entrepreneurship as a cultural component and mindset throughout the organization. Make the organizational changes which are necessary to meet the requirements of higher levels of growth and success. The company should continuously be looking for signs that the business model needs changing, such as new technologies, competitive threats, changing customer needs, and work towards it. Develop a senior management team as both strategic leaders of the company and operational leaders of their functional areas. Now, let's talk about the summary of the whole chapter. In today's highly competitive business environment, any new venture should be carefully planned before execution. It's not always sufficient to have a great idea or singling out a great opportunity. New venture planning is helpful to any new business. Of the many things, it helps to determine the goals of the business and how these are to be achieved. A good planning method will help one to test ideas and see the flaws in its business to avoid the waste of resources and opportunity. Moreover, it leads to create better confidence in the entrepreneur because opportunities are seen clearly and helps one to take the right steps forward. In 1991, 3 academics, which is M. Hult, A. Gerling and G. Lindblom, created the model which summarizes the process and the most important factors involved in business creation. The model relates the entrepreneur, the environment, and their interactions between themselves and the 5 planning process steps. The important aspects of the model are the entrepreneur, the environment, and the process. No business performs in the same manner during its lifetime. Every business has its ups and its downs and passes through various stages. The 4 stages of business growth are new venture, early growth, rapid growth, and sustainable growth. Thank you.